Lionel Messi funny and wholesome moments you haven't seen. There's something endlessly fascinating about watching Lionel Messi, not just as a footballer performing at the highest level, but as a person quietly navigating moments that are funny, awkward, and deeply human. We're used to seeing the highlights, the dazzling dribbles, the impossible goals, the trophies lifted under blinding lights. But what about everything else? What about the moments that don't make it into the highlight reels? Or if they do, it's for entirely different reasons. Have you ever paused during a match and wondered what Messi is actually thinking in those unexpected, slightly chaotic moments? When a perfect pass turns into confusion, or when a golden opportunity is suddenly stopped by a referee's whistle, what goes through his mind? Picture this: a long ball floats over the defense. It's the kind of pass that makes the entire stadium rise in anticipation. This could be the second goal of the night, the moment that puts the game to bed.
Pace, look at the speed, look at the intricacy of the touch, the control, like that. Sensational goal.
Messi moves into position, timing everything with that uncanny awareness he's known for. But then, everything stops. A whistle cuts through the noise. Offside? A foul? Nobody seems entirely sure at first. The crowd reacts in waves of frustration and disbelief. And Messi? He doesn't explode in anger. He doesn't throw his arms up dramatically. Instead, there's often just a subtle reaction. A glance, a small smile, maybe a quiet exchange with a teammate. Isn't that intriguing? In a sport filled with big personalities and even bigger reactions, Messi's restraint almost feels like its own kind of statement. But that's where the humor begins to creep in. Football, for all its intensity, is full of moments that are unintentionally funny. The miscommunications, the awkward timing, the strange decisions that leave everyone scratching their heads. And Messi, whether he intends to or not, often becomes part of these moments, not as a loud participant, but as a calm observer caught in the middle of the chaos. As the clock winds down and the tension builds, 2 minutes of added time, the game hanging in the balance, you might expect everything to feel serious, almost suffocating. Yet somehow, even here, there are flashes of lightness. A misplaced pass that turns into a lucky break, a teammate saying something unexpected, a crowd reaction that feels more like a comedy show than a football match. Have you ever noticed how even the most intense situations can suddenly flip into something oddly amusing? Messi's role in these moments is fascinating. He doesn't force the humor. He doesn't play to the crowd. Instead, he simply exists within it, reacting naturally. And that's what makes it so compelling. In a world where athletes are often expected to perform both on Messi's authenticity stands out. Off the field, this authenticity becomes even more visible. Interviews, for example, are a goldmine of wholesome and funny moments. While many players speak with polished confidence, Messi often seems slightly uncomfortable, like someone who would rather let his football do the talking. And yet, that's exactly what makes his interviews so engaging. Have you ever watched him try to respond to a joke or a question that catches him off guard? There's usually a brief pause, a thoughtful look, and then a response that feels completely genuine. Sometimes it's a simple answer. Sometimes it's a quiet laugh. But it's never forced. And in those moments, you see a different side of him. Not the global icon, but the person behind it all. Language adds another layer to this dynamic. Football is a global game, and Messi often finds himself in conversations that blend multiple languages: Spanish, English, sometimes even bits of French or Italian. The result can be both charming and hilarious. Misunderstandings happen. Translations aren't always perfect, and Messi, trying to follow along, often ends up smiling through the confusion. Doesn't that feel relatable? Being in a situation where you're only catching parts of the conversation, but you're still engaged, still present, still finding humor in it?
Lionel Messi does it again! He's superhuman to life! Another chapter!
It's a reminder that even someone at Messi's level experiences the same small, everyday challenges as the rest of us. Then there are the stories from teammates, those behind-the-scenes glimpses that reveal even more about his personality. You might expect the greatest player in the world to dominate every room he walks into. But according to those who know him best, Messi is often the opposite. Quiet, observant, selective with his words. And yet, when he does speak, it matters. Sometimes it's a piece of advice. Sometimes it's a perfectly timed comment that catches everyone off guard. Imagine a tense locker room, the atmosphere heavy with pressure, and then Messi says something simple, maybe even a little humorous, that breaks the tension completely. Isn't that a different kind of leadership? Celebrations offer another window into his character. Goals are moments of pure emotion in football, often accompanied by dramatic gestures and passionate displays. But Messi's celebrations are usually more understated. A smile, a hug.
With a shot in the back of the net!
A brief acknowledgement of the crowd. But every now and then, there's a twist. A slightly bigger reaction. A flash of excitement that feels almost spontaneous. And those moments? They're unforgettable precisely because they're so rare. It's like seeing a new side of someone you thought you already understood. Fan interactions might be the most wholesome moments of all. Think about what it means for a fan, especially a young one, to meet Messi. The anticipation, the excitement, the sheer disbelief. And then it happens. A handshake, a smile, maybe even a few words. Messi's approach in these situations is consistently warm and genuine. There's no sense of distance, no barrier between him and the people who admire him. Instead, there's a quiet appreciation, as if he understands the significance of these moments better than anyone. Have you ever seen how a single gesture from someone you admire can stay with you forever? That's the kind of impact Messi has, not just through his football, but through these small, meaningful interactions. Of course, not every moment is smooth or perfectly handled. There are awkward situations too, and these often turn out to be the funniest. Imagine being called onto a stage only for there to be confusion about rankings or announcements. Maybe you're told you finished second, then someone tries to correct it. Then there's more confusion. What do you do in that situation? Laugh? Stay serious? Pretend nothing happened? Messi usually lands somewhere in between, acknowledging the awkwardness without making a big deal out of it. And in doing so, he turns what could be an uncomfortable moment into something oddly endearing. Even during high-pressure situations like penalties, there's an element of unpredictability that can lead to unexpected humor. The careful setup, the measured run-up, the split-second decision, and sometimes, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.